Well, we have a Gemini full moon coming up, but a whole host of theater and drama. We have a cosmic struggle, and what I couldn't put down, I'm naming it a little bit longer, which is a cosmic showdown happening. This is the Mars square Saturn. It's a big one. It's a big energy. It's going exact this week, and the good news is victory is in sight. It's expansive. It's very Sagittarian. And we got all sorts of things to look forward to. So let's do this. Let's do it. We're going to start with the influence, and we're going to do this triangulation piece with the solution, which I find to be the most valuable. But it is also important to know how people are going to feel. And so we start here. How are they going to feel? And I think it's going to be the I-Ching focuses on affluence. And I think that's very expansive. It's fortunate. It's victory. And that's a direct match to all the things happening in Sagittarius. In fact, at the time of this recording, the sun has already gone into Sagittarius. So just a few angular minutes into Sagittarius. So welcome to that expansive energy. And then speaking of expansive, we have the full moon, which is very motivating and sort of unpredictable, but it's in Gemini. So it's going to be very unpredictable towards logic and reason. And we have a whole slew of things to talk about there. And then the hidden factor that we see in the Dreambot is Saturn. And that's the square over to Mars. So Mars square Saturn is the cosmic showdown, and then the victory piece is the Sagittarian luck, fortune, victory, expansive thing. So a lot to unpack. Let's just go ahead and get started. And a huge shout out to Eric Spradlin. Not only is this the best comment for the week, but it might set a record for the amount of likes in that dissertation. And I don't mean that as a derogatory term. This is the energy that we're experiencing both last week and expected this week, which is sort of that cosmic showdown sort of feel. So I think everybody agreed with that. Last title was scary. Was it Scary Times? I think it's the Saturn tricky discipline and challenge and all that. But Mars is there, and with the help of Pluto, can really power us through this period of time. We are here in the grand cycle, and I'll get to the Dreambot here first, but just to give you an idea for the overall, one of the bigger picture cycles is the eclipse cycle, which is ruled by Libra. And yes, that still is a factor here because all these new moons up top, full moons down below, this one being Gemini on November 27th, is in service of the bigger cycle, which is the Libra towards peace and harmony and getting along, ruled by Venus. So is Taurus. That was the eclipse. Those two eclipses were both ruled by Venus. So let's go hit the Dreambot real quick. And what we have is food still at the top. And shout out to Angie, who proposed that maybe people are thinking about Thanksgiving. Remember, this has been 3 weeks in the making. So Thanksgiving has been on people's minds, and I just didn't pick up on that. It's pretty obvious now what everybody's thinking about, and still food and whatnot, but there's quite a few memes here. There's 3 of them, and I have 3 linguistic sets. Let me read the linguistic sets. Well, food and then Monday, but let's skip Monday. So food, plant, built. You remember all the food plants that were destroyed? And I wonder if that has the reverse concept here. So maybe some food plants are being built. Then we have nice, expecting, hue, higher. This still has that higher consciousness sort of feel to it. But I thought it was interesting in the law of one, And now I can't remember if it's the fourth, fifth, or sixth density. Well, maybe one of you knows, but Ra talks about in those higher densities, you don't eat food. You don't have the typical food that we have in the 3D. And he talks about specifically the golden white hue. And both of those words are here. So you have food, golden, and hue, and higher. So it sort of has that ascension sort of feel, but ascension not in the terms of you get out of here and go to bliss. You just go to move on to the higher levels. And maybe that's what this is. And then linguistic set number 3 says currently sphere breathing, and proposes probably that not only according to the law 1, even the sun is alive. It's basically a body full of protons that are living out lives. And then, so the overall themes are the green is time. The red arrows are food. So food, plant, expecting and nice. So it's a very Thanksgiving sort of a feel. And then the blue arrows are sun. So still maintaining the old memes. Haven't changed a whole lot. All right. Here's your overall energy. And we're looking at the power continuum that we started last week is still on deck, and it's still very strong. It's going to turn into this cosmic showdown, in my opinion. And so that's the red line, and it's very high. It's maxed out. It starts to wane off as the full moon, which is the adapting and jinking green line. When that takes place on Monday, that sort of takes the precedence. So things get really mutable. Well, I'll be using those words here in this astrology, meaning that things become very jinking and jiving. But the power struggle still maintains a good, decent amount of influence the entire week. Anything to note here? We have a strong Sagittarius feel. And I think that's better shown in the next diagrams, but we have the full moon on the 27th. And the blue here are a lot of inconjuncts, and those will be a factor towards the end of the week, as you can see, 26, 29, 30, and we'll talk about all those. So first and foremost, Thursday, the 23rd of November. This is just a chart in the middle of the day, 12 p.m. on Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And the big news here is we got the Mars square Saturn. So this is the continuation from last week. The only difference is the sun now is in Sagittarius and not Scorpio. And we have the square over to Saturn, which creates our cosmic struggle. The cosmic struggle is not, random. It is very purposeful, as Saturn doesn't just give us hardships and discipline and all that conflict. It gives us a way to sharpen things. And so this image for today, for Thursday, the 23rd, is this sort of cosmic Inferno's forged sword. And the Inferno is from Scorpio, because as you see, Mars is still in Scorpio. That'll change. This energy will change once Mars leaves Scorpio. But right now we're in the Inferno, squared off to Saturn, and we are getting forged, and our swords are getting sharpened. Our minds are getting quicker. We can think better, but we can also fight better, more disciplined. Then the other hidden influence here, reminder that we have that sextile over to Pluto, which gives us a very reliable source of more power for our cosmic showdown. And so that in and of itself, without the Sagittarian feel, can sort of feel like victory is in sight. So it's not a hopeless thing. We have a lot of power in this. We have a lot of choices. We have a lot of purpose, and we have a lot of resilience. So tempered power and resilience, and we're navigating the abyss. and it could be scary, but it feels good to have all this resource to power, and the benefit of Pluto, bringing in our superpowers from last week. I think that'll be a factor here in this cosmic showdown. So take note of what you found last week. And did you hone it? Did you start studying up on it? Your superpower. You're going to bring those in this week as well. And that will help bring about the victory and sight sort of feeling. Just a note here, there's a lot going on, and we're going to cover most of this as we go throughout the week. But Venus is now in conjunction with the South Node. So relationships in particular are not only in conjuncting or changing and adapting to Uranus, they're being electrified by Uranus, but they're also being influenced by the past. That's the South Node. All right, so hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving. And then we move into Black Friday, the 24th. How many of you are going out into the chaos? Not me for Black Friday. I think I'll just stay in and spend some time thinking, because that's what I like to do. So Mars goes into Sagittarius at 4:14:47, so 4:14 a.m. Central Standard Time. And now remember our sword analogy that's being sharpened by our cosmic showdown is now getting more. We're going to be traveling around the cosmos with this. It's very expansive now in our fight against evil, or fight against whatever it is you've been called to fight. And so now the sword has been sharpened. It's ready to go, but it's now feeling like it can go anywhere. So Sagittarius, we just need to know where to go in all this expanse. Now, the cosmic odyssey continues, and now we can take this sword with us. I want to point out 5 mutable signs, and a lot of those are in Sagittarius. And so there, mutable signs are adaptable. So things are jinking and jiving, and that'll give you some extra insight or extra talent or skills in order to fight your cosmic showdown. Saturday the 25th, this is where Mars, who is now in Sagittarius, is square to Saturn. It goes exact at 10:57 a.m. Central Daylight Savings Time. We still have our sword. This is the climax of our cosmic showdown, all right? And so waging war or being challenged by Saturn, this is going to be at the height of it. Now, this struggle will be all week. So it's not like this is going to be, considerably bigger than what you've seen in the past week. But it is technically the climax, 10:57 a.m. That's what this chart is all based on. And then we have, remember those tightropes that we had with Venus and Mercury on Jupiter? Well, now these are on Uranus. And we're going to shift over to Uranus, but the inconjuncts are tightropes and having to really do micro adaptions to stay balanced on this tightrope with Uranus. Uranus brings around electricity and change and insight and rebelliousness and freedom. And so that's quite a challenge for Venus that wants to stay together and bring about harmony and peace and look good in the process. And then Mercury, who is in detriment, who is technically weakened here. So remember the guy with the telescope and having a hard time seeing details of all the stars in the skylight. That's what Mercury's going through right now. All the possibilities. So many things to think about. So he too is adapting. And so now we have a picture of a tapestry because we're bringing in this Mercury in conjunct Uranus. And this is, by the way, on Sunday. And the reason why this is important is because Venus in conjunct Uranus goes exact at 9:49 a.m. And we have everything that we just talked about, but the forced adaptation. But we have more of a, if you can think about it like a cosmic tapestry, and one of those threads is the Venus bringing about equilibrium and harmony. And then the opposite threads that are at 90 degrees are Mercury. And so this desire to think logically and reason and rationalize, but in this expansive Sagittarian universe. And all the while being emotionally electrified by Uranus. And so there's change, adaptation. Everything is forcing you to change. And this is kind of our shift towards mutability, adapting, thinking out of the box, jinking and jiving in order to win this cosmic showdown. This is the focus, is you're going to have to move and adapt. So here's our full moon. Speaking of adaptation, this is really interesting. So in the Gemini full moon, we have just the full moon, which is unpredictability, lots of energy. We tend to sleep a little bit less. That has been shown in sleep studies that we tend to sleep a little less on full moons and new moons. But we have a mutable axis. And what that means is on the sun in a mutable sign of Sag and moon in a mutable sign of Gemini, there's 6 planets total in mutable signs. So it's the energy of adapting, having to adapt. And that doesn't even include the inconjuncts. So and the emphasis of Uranus. So lots of adapting going on. We have the Gemini full moon. That's the focus of moon. And guess whose moon is in Gemini in my natal chart? Yours truly. So I'm very much looking forward to this full moon. So in the playground of my ideas, my Gemini moon invites all of us to swing from thought to thought, as this picture depicts. There's your Gemini. Lots of ideas, lots of just fast-moving ideas, fast adapting, communicating a little bit more efficiently. Remember that Mercury is in Sagittarius, so that's going to put some limits on that skill set, but the influence is still there. The desire, the emotions of thinking, fast and strong and putting a lot of logic into things. There's a lot of desire to do that. And this full moon on this side, Mars still is in combust, still parallel with the sun, so very intense, but intense in sort of a Sagittarian way. So there's a strong desire here to move, to see something that you want and go get it. So there's a lot of motivating power from both sides of this continuum. There's a lot of adapting from the mutable signs and from a lot of the inconjuncts. But we have this in the background, a T-square on Saturn, which gives us this cosmic showdown, this big conflict. But overall, this ability to jink and jive, see from different perspectives, everything, all those things come easy, and being able to adapt, having to adapt, but being able to do it is regenerating and feels like victory. So, as you know, I'm a big advocate of making sacrifices on these full moons. So I like to take what the zodiac sign is and sacrifice the negative side of that for you personally. Here's some ideas. So Geminis can be typically in the negative sense, they can be cunning, I think they do that in a way where they're not really authentic. They're more chameleon in terms of just saying what people want to hear, and that could be cunning. So if that's you, that would be a good option to sacrifice at the full moon. Maybe exaggerating things, just making things more interesting than they really are. Exaggerating, that could be one. Inauthenticity is a common thread for Geminis. They're not really all that well understood because they may or may not be providing their true authentic self in that moment. Can run a little hard. And so that would be an option. Maybe directionless is another option because they are all over the place mentally, seeing how they can get distracted pretty easy. And on the flip side of that, it can be extremely focused on something of interest. So any one of those, if it becomes more of a negative attribute or something that keeps you from communicating efficiently or something that keeps you from living more rationally, these are just examples of picking something that you don't like about your Gemini skill set and give it up. All right, I think that covers most of it. The full moon does occur at 4 degrees Gemini and 51 minutes. And then on Tuesday, within 24 hours of that full moon, what time? The full moon occurs at 3:16. I thought that was interesting. Where have we heard that before? John 3:16. So more of this cosmic play out, That's my opinion. 3:16. And that's AM. If I keep scrolling back, sorry. Tuesday, the 28th. All right, within 24 hours, that full moon still is in the biggest impact, the biggest effect. And once that wears off, then, especially when the moon egresses out of Gemini, it's just going to make things very difficult because you've got a Mercury in detriment. Mercury is ruler of Gemini, but is in detriment in Sag, and is furthest away from home with the moon in Gemini opposing each other. So it just makes Gemini things a lot more difficult. So I wouldn't be surprised that regardless if you do a full moon sacrificing Gemini negative traits, you're still going to find some difficulty like doing those after that full moon energy is vacated. That's unfortunate, but it's kind of part of the cosmic showdown. Wednesday, the 29th, we have Mars combust with another inconjunct. This is more adapting, and it goes exact to Jupiter. So Mars and Sun in conjunct Jupiter goes exact at 11:33 a.m. We haven't talked about it yet. And this is sort of like poor aim. So here's sort of the picture is you're shooting arrows. That's the Sagittarian thing, and shooting like sharpshooting very far away, where normally you hit the middle of the bullseye. But with this energy or this alignment, you notice yourself really hitting off kilter, and it's really hard to aim. So you've got poor aim, or it might be this unbridled charge where you got a clear idea for where you want to go, but the horse doesn't, the Sagittarian horse doesn't really go exactly where you want it to go. So sort of directionless, or it's going towards where you want to go, but not quite to it. Has that unpredictability to it, and you're just going to have to keep adjusting. There's more of this mutable planets and mutable signs, 5 of them. And so lots of ways to be unfocused, maybe sort of feeling let down. And that's a poor outcome. I know that it sounds awful. It doesn't sound very victory oriented, but I'm pointing out these other challenges, in addition to Saturn. So you got to stay aware. You can't be getting drunk, or you can't be losing your awareness. You got to stay aware, and you got to stay just nimble. But we're going to get into the solution here later. All right, here we are. The influence is called affluence, hexagram 14. Fortunes have turned for the better, shines brightly now. It is the tendency of a flexible or yielding nature to draw powerful forces to it. There sounds like a paradox to me. So line 6 says, you are blessed by divine providence. This is a time for improvement in every way. Supreme success goes to those who are in the world, but not of it. All right. So it's a cosmic showdown. That's the influence, but it feels like victory. Oh, let's go to the summary slide so we can get out of the influence and then start hitting the solution. All right, here we are, November 23rd, Thanksgiving, to the 29th. And here's a picture of, I guess it'd be Satan and Jesus. And it's the cosmic showdown, or remember, this is the energy. This is not the outcomes. You're not going to see these two wrestling up in the sky, I would guess. Or maybe you will. I doubt it. But it's the energy of that. It's like you're fighting something. But the slant is because of the Sagittarian and the mutable and the Gemini moon. It's sort of like this knowing that everything's going to be okay. So it's sort of a positive feeling. That may feel like a victory to you even before victory is actually there. In the beginning of the week, we continue grappling with the power continuum and your superpower. It's the cosmic struggle brought to you courtesy of Mars square Saturn. And then the energy starts feeling expansive and lucky as Mars enters Sag to join the Sun and Mercury, who are already there. The last major shift is on Monday with a full moon in Gemini, and many of the planets are in mutable signs. Hence, we start the week with the raw power urges, but power shifts towards flexibility, adapting, and cunning influences to finish out the cosmic struggle. All right, with that, let us talk about the solution. All right, and we have great vigor. This, I believe, is one of the best solution triangulations that we've ever done. In my opinion, it's going to feel very empowering. If you find yourself in an influential position, is it important to act responsibly and react with care? Power must not be allowed to degenerate into raw force. A strong sense of responsibility for the collective good is the key to the successful exercise of power. Arrogance contains the seeds of its own undoing. Basically, the great vigor means that you act with, so this is not the energy, right? That was the hexagram before. This is the recommended solution hexagram, great vigor. So even if you don't have great energy, it means that you act in accordance with great vigor. Okay. That's how our I-Ching's readings are conducted. All right. Here's our transition slide. We're going from Tropical Astrology to the Rave and to Sidereal. So we have the full moon is in Gemini at 4 degrees, 51 minutes. And that puts us in hexagram 20 of the Rave. We will look at that, and then we are given the bull, Taurus, in Sidereal Astrology. And so we're going to triangulate all these. We'll start with the Rave. Contemplation sounds a whole lot like Gemini. And the Gemini full moon, hexagram 20. It's wisdom. Line 6, contemplation which results in the ability to apply understanding. The establishment for the benefit of society, values, ideals, and their patterns, and how they can be understood and applied. The ability to transform individual awareness for general application and understanding. So, big picture, this hexagram is about thinking, but contemplating and transforming understanding into right action. So let me read this, probably the most important one again. Contemplation, this is the wisdom line, line 6. Contemplation, which results in the ability to apply understanding. So it is very conscientious, but it's not just stagnant. It's not just thinking. It's actually going out and doing things, moving forward after you've contemplating. So it's the transition from understanding it to right action. All right. All right. Now let's go to our summary slide. And here are the images that we have been given. All right. We have great vigor. I've got a big car peeling out with a huge engine there with the guy going number 1. And then we have the rave. And this is not indicative of, things you have to be super careful. All we're doing is making sure that we have balanced the heart and the mind together, the intuition and rational thought. Everything should be well contemplated. But once you contemplate, the importance is take that wisdom and put it into action. So it is moving, just like great vigor. And then we have Sidereal Taurus, which is known for its ability to move forward. It's hard to stop Taurus once it gets started. And then we have the full moon, same thing, everybody, very motivating. It's action, it's less sleep, it's more energy. So putting all this together, pedal to the metal, baby. This week is a barn burner and has profound implications for forward movement. The I-Ching, the full moon, the Sidereal Taurus are all strongly correlated. The image is of Pamplona's annual running of the bulls. I want you guys to picture, surely you've seen some of these videos, right? The running of the bulls over in Spain. Be the bull. Crash through Saturn's obstacles. Take no crap. Dominate and control your environment during your own personal cosmic showdown. Access Pluto and take control of what you should take control of. But we must do so in alignment with the Rave's wisdom line. Okay, so that's the only tempered portion of this. So I think it does give it some context, but also some valid direction before you get started. So where sufficient contemplation results in the ability to apply understanding. So be conscientious and mindful and contemplate or imagine your powerful moves forward this week. But do not sit idly by and just think all week, which is something that I have a risk doing. The solution triangulation encourages well-balanced, wise action in a manner that exudes strength, power, high energy, great vigor, high confidence, and unstoppability. All right? Isn't that very, very powerful? And I think if you do this very well, so first contemplate and start creating and fostering some wisdom. And now it's about imagining and thinking about how you're going to move forward and take control of your environment and get victory on your cosmic showdown. Highly encourage you to think about how to apply your superpower that you identified last week. And we also have that full moon. And so it's sort of, it's the height time to get your Libra goals finished for the month. Wait, was it Libra? Let me see here. I don't want to steer you wrong. Scorpio. We're in the Scorpio phase, the new moon phase. So you should have your Scorpio goals ready and handy. And those are going to be finishing up, right? At the full moon time. You can complete your Scorpio goals after this full moon, but the last call is going to be the last quarter moon, which is after this. But if you do get your Scorpio goals done, then it's celebration time at the full moon. But otherwise, this is going to be one big powerful week, and victory is in sight for all of us. Oh, I have the runes. So let's go talk about the runes, all right? All right, I haven't made any change since last week because Gabu is for the Libra eclipse. I want to maximize my time with Gabu close to me and thinking about it because I want to be a master in that domain. And then we have the Kanaz. Kanaz is the same as last week. I want that controlled transformation. I feel like it's a great rune for creative fire, for being the helpful in the cosmic showdown and helping to hone Saturn's need for discipline into a very sharp sword that then I can use for when I need to use it. Insight, inspiration, controlled transformation. I am the master of my domain. I am victorious in the cosmic struggle. The struggle is real, but we shall be victorious. All right, how we do today, everybody? Thank you for the comments. Welcome to all you new folks, and I'm glad a lot of you are getting some useful hints out of this program, and I'm always looking for suggestions so we can make it even better. But other than that, happy Thanksgiving to all you folks, to our CIRF family, and we will see you again next week. Take care.